Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today. I'd like to, first of all, thank Dr. Goodman for inviting me to be here. You've been waiting for it. It's finally here, Internet Voting Security. Okay, before we tackle Internet voting, I want to start at an arguably easier problem, electronic voting. So as Nicole defined this morning, electronic voting implies some kind of electronic device in a polling place that is not nominally going out on the internet to communicate. And so I've brought something with me today. This is the AVS WinVote. And I brought it all the way here today on the airplane because I wanted to show you a real life example of electronic voting, and then from here we'll move into internet voting after that. So this device here is what's called a direct recording electronic voting machine, DRE. The idea is that you have a computer interface and you would be shown as a voter an electronic ballot image, and you would tap the screen. It's a touch screen device. You would tap your choices and then cast your ballot. This machine has been called by computer scientists the worst voting machine in the United States, and I hope to convince you why that is, or at least explain. But before I do, I suppose I should probably preface what I'm trying to do here. My background is in computer science and software engineering. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Western Ontario, and I've been working in the field of internet voting security for about 10 years now. In fact, my work in this area, I'm happy to say, began right here at the University of Ottawa. People say to me, "Oh, well, you're a computer scientist. You must be against internet voting." I hear this a lot. "Oh, computer scientists are against internet voting." And it's usually said in the same way that, my kids are objecting to when I tell them it's bedtime. And they're like, "You're against internet voting security, internet voting." And I just want to clear that up by saying I am not against internet voting. I love the internet. I use the internet every day. I've been using the internet since the 80s, okay? I love the internet. I want to be able to vote online. This is something that I think would be great. Computer scientists invented the internet. They are not against internet voting. They are against insecure internet voting. And really, you are too, when you think about it. So the question is not really one of for internet voting versus against internet voting. This is the wrong dichotomy. It's more about can we do it in a way that we find acceptable in terms of risk. So getting back to the WinVote here, this particular machine came from the state of Virginia. It was decertified. The WinVote machines were decertified in 2015 after a review uncovered a lot of unfortunate security design lapses, let's just say. They found, among other things, that it had completely insecure Wi-Fi connection. Of course, the fact that it is using a Wi-Fi connection at all is kind of itself already suspicious. Weak or non-existent passwords. Yes, ABCDE was the Wi-Fi password, but you wouldn't even have to know that because the Wi-Fi encryption technology that it was using, wired equivalent privacy WEP, is crackable. Despite whatever your password is. In fact, I have a graduate course on hacking that I teach where we demonstrate how to crack WEP encryption. Use it, it doesn't matter what your password is. It's broken, it can be broken. And there's essentially no administrative controls on this device. Actually, as it turns out, there are, just right here on the top, there are two USB ports, okay? Now, this device nominally would be used in a polling place, and somebody would be shown to this device, and then they would spend, potentially a good many minutes with the device voting. And it has these privacy guards here, so you wouldn't normally expect anyone to see what you're doing with the device. That's kind of the point. But because it has no procedural security, and I should mention that the VITA report talked about how it could be accessed from the parking lot via the insecure Wi-Fi. Well, you don't even need to do that. Actually, I thought that I would show you a video that my graduate students, Reese Carlton and Kristen Dory, prepared. I handed them my camera and I said, I got to run to give my lecture. Can you film a video of hacking this voting machine? And so they've kindly obliged me here, and I'm just, okay. I'm going to just show you this. Okay, so here's a USB keyboard. This is just a $10 keyboard from Walmart, and here they are. They're just going to plug it into the USB port on the back. And first of all, you would hope that they wouldn't have USB ports, but there are, and yes, they are enabled. Now, before I show you what happens, remember what happens first of all, I should point out, this device is basically a Windows XP laptop, okay? And you can see here, this is the voting program. This screen right here, this is it's the Fairfax County, Virginia voting screen, and a poll worker would usually come and insert a smart card and then enable the machine for voting. Now, Windows XP. Remember what you do, because I'm sure many of you have used Windows XP. Remember what you do when you have a program that's not responding and you want to close it? What do you do in Windows XP? Does anyone remember? Yeah, I see some people are doing this, Control-Alt-Delete. Okay, so let's see what happens when you do Control-Alt-Delete. Oh, there you go. There's the task manager. That seems like something that you shouldn't be able to do. But now you have a task manager. Let's go ahead, and Kristen's closing the voting application because it's in our way. It's bothering us. We just want to close it down. Now I should point out that there's no skill here to hacking this machine. Everyone that did this has the skill to hack this machine. And so here she is. She's running. There's a DOS command line. And then we have another USB key plugged into it, and then they're going to run a program. Now, what is a machine like this good for other than voting? Well, I'm going to just maybe fast forward this a little bit. All right. A machine like this can be repurposed, and this is actually what we do. I take it around to show kids at the science fair, what voting technology can be used for when it's been decommissioned. So in this case, they're going to use it to play classic arcade games. All right. Now, let's just recap what happened here. We walked up to voting machine. Okay. This machine hasn't been altered since the State Board of Elections released them to be, basically released them to the scrap heap. I understand that they took off any identifying information, although it's not in a factory state, let's just say. So we walked up to the machine, plug in a keyboard, Control-Alt-Delete, run our Nintendo program, and here we are. We're playing Super Mario on an American DRE touchscreen voting machine from Fairfax County, Virginia. Now, does this seem like a good thing or a bad thing? And so, okay, what is the lesson here from? Oh yes, and I should show you that we also. Once you get, you might think to yourself, okay, well, what other programs can you run? Well, another thing you can run from DOS is Windows Explorer. And once you have Windows Explorer, you can open up the Wi-Fi settings, and you can connect. In this case, we used it to connect to a local Wi-Fi router that we had set up. It actually cannot use modern encryption, so we had to open up the access to the Wi-Fi network. And then we used it to run Internet Explorer, and there you can see we got to a web page. Now, interestingly, the Internet of today doesn't run on Internet Explorer 6. This machine was sort of manufactured in roughly 2002. And so the Internet of the Internet browser of yesteryear cannot handle the Internet of today. Most websites simply won't work. In particular, most websites will refuse to connect to it if they use encryption, because this old browser can't handle some of the basic encryption techniques that are used today. Okay, so I want to give you the first lesson of this, right? This isn't internet voting, this is electronic voting. But what is the first lesson of this? The first lesson is that Turing machines make bad voting machines. Okay, now what is a universal Turing machine is kind of like a model for something that is capable of what's called universal computation. It's basically like a computer. Okay, what is a computer? A computer is a device that is capable of universal computation. It can compute anything. Anything that you can compute using a supercomputer, you can compute using this WinVote. Okay? It might need an upgrade to the software, it might need an upgrade to the RAM, but it is capable of doing the same thing. It might take longer, but it can do it. Anything that you could use a quantum computer to compute, you can use this WinVote to do also. Again, it might take longer, and of course, in the case of quantum computing, you might not be able to actually build the quantum computer to compare the speeds, but that's a separate issue. So what you have done here is you've taken a device that is meant, or rather, that is built to be capable to do any computation, and then you are requiring it to only ever do one computation or run one program. Okay, so we are kind of like fighting against the fundamental physical nature of this machine. It was built to compute anything. That's why it's able to run Super Mario. It is a universal Turing machine. So this is the first thing. Now, there are ways that we can kind of get around this, but I think it's important to understand at its basic level that the circuitry here is capable of running any program. The other lesson is that, and this is important, security doesn't just happen. You cannot just contract an election vendor to come and give you an internet voting solution and necessarily be able to expect that you're going to get something secure. It's a little bit like, when you have a contractor come to do, a renovation in your house. You have to supervise what they're doing. You have to have a sense of what the job should look like. And if they don't do that job the way that it's supposed to be done, you have to make sure that they go back and rip it out and then start over again. The same kind of idea applies here. Somebody had to sign off on this device. And it's easy enough now, in retrospect, to look at it and say, look, this thing can run. I mean, we didn't even hack. I mean, to call this hacking, what we did just there is kind of a, it's an abuse of the word. I mean, we ran a Windows program on a Windows machine. So what we need to do instead is we need to foster a security-conscious culture, okay, where there's an awareness of the security that is needed and a respect for why it's needed. Okay, so for example, if I'm going to build an electronic voting machine, one thing that might be nice is to not have Wi-Fi adapter on it. Okay, because if it has a Wi-Fi adapter, maybe I can use it to surf the internet. Maybe I shouldn't have a USB port on the back, and if I do, I should probably have it either like physically covered or disabled. But even if I forget to do that, I should probably have an administrative password so I can't go and run all of these programs. I should point out that you can plug in a USB key and download the ballot database. It's Microsoft Access, and you can upload a ballot database. And then you can change the audit logs because there's no protection on anything. So security doesn't just happen. You have to fight for it. You have to have a culture. And to have that culture, you have to have some awareness of what's important and why it matters. And I have had the opportunity to observe and work with election officials, and some of them actually do have this culture. When Dr. Clark and I worked with the City of Toronto, for example, I think that they did an excellent job of sitting down completely on their own and trying to just, as sort of non-cybersecurity experts, say, these are the things that we would like to see from a security perspective. We would like for it to not be possible to do something like this on an internet voting machine. And so they came up with a set of requirements that I thought were very good. But this doesn't happen everywhere, and it's partly because of the culture. Okay, now internet voting. Okay, so all of the challenges of electronic voting are found essentially in internet voting. You're still using a Turing machine to do your voting. So here's another Turing machine right here. I see many universal Turing machines sitting on the desks of the audience here as well. So all of these problems are still found, except now that you're adding all of these other problems or other threats that you need to manage. Okay. The one that I'm personally worried a lot about is state-sponsored hackers. Now, you might sort of say, well, what country is going to want to modify an election? As was pointed out in the previous talk, there was the Yahoo hack just this week where 500 million, well, I guess it was just revealed this week. 500 million email addresses. I mean, it's like a Steve Jobs presentation, like 500 million email addresses and account credentials were put out onto the internet, and it is suspected that it was done in part with the assistance of a state-level adversary. So if I was an election official, I would go to bed at night and I would lie awake staring at the ceiling, worrying about state-level actors, because these are the kind of adversaries that can't just change your vote, but they can make it look like they didn't do it. So this is kind of like the sort of the worst case scenario. Okay. Now let's actually look at an internet voting scheme. Okay. I want to show you a particular one. It's a practice website from New South Wales in Australia. And I think this is a good demo to show you because, number one, they have their practice website available, so you can go and you can try it out yourself. They leave it up there for citizens to kind of get experience voting online, just kind of get the feel for what it's like. The other reason I think this is good is because it displays a ranked choice voting system, which is another thing that we're contemplating here in Canada. So in Australia, they do preferential voting. So here I'm just typing in the address for the voting site. So if I was a voter, I would get a piece of mail, perhaps that said, please visit such and such website. And it would probably have some kind of login credentials. I might have received the login credentials in a separate mailer or in some other mode of communication. Here, they provide some sample credentials, so you can just try logging in. It's just a sample voter. It's not like a real vote. It's a practice site. So I type them in, and then I log in. Now, so far, everything is just like if you were logging into a bank account or something like that. So it's all very familiar, username, password kind of business. So here, they're giving some instructions. You have to double click on the selections because it is ranked choice. You have to double click to mark a vote because as you'll see. There is a number of candidates, but it's not like in Canada where you make one little tick. You actually put them in order. So if I do a single click, nothing happens. So what I have to do is do a double click. So then I have a number one appear. So I'm saying I most prefer this choice, and then the second and third, and so on and so on. Okay, so that one was easy. That first contest, that was like 5 or 6 candidates. Okay, so far so good. That was about the size of a Canadian ballot. We might have like 3 to 5 candidates on a federal ballot in Canada. But in Australia, especially, well, I guess at both levels, the federal and territorial levels and the state levels, they have very, very large elections involving up to 100 candidates. So imagine that you have to rank all 100 candidates. Well, that's a lot of work, so what they do is they give you what they call above-the-line rankings. So this is the website, by the way. These are all the choices that you have. These above-the-line rankings correspond to a political party. So let's say there was a political party, and they specify who they want, who they think that the ranking should be. And if you click above the line, you're saying, I agree to that party's, preferred ranking. Or you can go below the line and do it all yourself. But, I mean, look at the size of this ballot. There's like 100 names on this. Okay, so in the state and the federal level Australian elections, you used to have to rank all of them. 100 candidates, 110 candidates, and they would let you get away with about 95 rankings. If you did less than that, your ballot would be tossed out. Now, I believe they recently changed the law so that you didn't have to do that, but that's a kind of a little bit of a taste of what that's like. So anyways, here you are, you're reviewing the screen, and then you click submit, okay? So there you go. And then, so this particular website has some information about how you can verify your vote. I don't have time to get into why I don't think that that's, particularly reassuring. But anyways, so then you get some information about your your phone number that you can call if you have any questions. So basically, very much like doing an online banking experience. You send some money, you pay a bill, bada bing, bada boom, and then you're done. And then you click log out. Okay, so that is the New South Wales voting experience. And so if we did this in Canada, we might have something that looks sort of similar. Okay, now and then you just go back to the sort of the main website. Now, I am going to claim to you that somebody could have hacked this exact voter that voted, this demonstration voter. Now, just in case New South Wales is watching, I didn't actually, this is a demonstration. I didn't, like visit their servers to execute this attack. But I did execute this attack locally on my machine, and so I actually stole the voters. Well, I did something, and I was wondering if anyone here can tell what it was that I did. If there's anything about this picture that seems unusual to you at all. I'm not seeing any hands. So, oh, okay, that's unusual. But that's not part of my attack. So sorry. Okay, let me just go back here. Okay, all right. Okay, so here's the website. Let me go back to the beginning. Okay, this is where I typed in my account credentials. Okay, there's something wrong with this picture. Right? I'm telling you there's something wrong, and I'm wondering if anyone in this room can tell me what it is. And once I tell you what it is, you're going to be like, oh, of course, you know what it is. You just don't know that you don't know, evidently. Okay. You're getting warm. Yeah, I saw a hand back there. The what? The iVote. Oh, no, that's not what it is. No. No, I was online when I did this, yeah. Why not? There's something missing that's supposed to be here. Okay, yeah. Okay, so, guys, where's the green padlock? It's missing. Okay, so, the green padlock in that little demonstration was missing. So how did I get rid of that green padlock? Well, you might say, well, maybe I photoshopped it out. But no, I didn't Photoshop it out. I did what's called an SSL stripping attack. Okay? So this is a virtual machine that I'm running, and I'm running freely available exploitation software to strip out the green padlock. Now, this is a problem. This is actually a very big problem. It's a fatal problem, because if you can remove that padlock, you have total control as an attacker over the connection between the voter and the server. And the only thing that you have to tell you that's happened is that the green padlock is not there. So your browser noticed that the green padlock wasn't there. It didn't display it. It did its job. But we as voters are the weakest link. We didn't do our job. And I include myself in this because I would very easily miss the green padlock myself. Okay, so let's just look at this attack. Okay, here's a browser and here's a server, and they connect over the internet. All right. Now I've drawn a nice little cloud here, but the internet is this large network, and it involves many hops. You have to visit many routers on your way to depending on what site you're trying to connect to. It is traveling down numerous different connections, okay? So there's numerous stops it makes along the way. It's like I put a postcard in the mail, and it goes to all the different post offices, okay? So at any one of those points, there's the opportunity for what's called a man in the middle to intercept and modify that data. Okay, so the green padlock is a representation of encryption that we need to protect this connection. Okay, so how does this TLS stripping attack work? So TLS is transport layer security. You absolutely need it. Any internet voting system is going to need TLS. If you have TLS, it's not going to make it secure. alone. But if you don't have TLS, it's not going to be secure, and I can modify the vote. I could have shown that voter anything that I wanted to as the attacker, as the man in the middle. So here we have our connection, and because you saw what I did at the beginning of the demo, I didn't type in https://newsouthwales.gov.au, iVote.newsouthwales. I typed in newsouthwales.gov.au. I mean, when you go to your bank website, or you go, a lot of, Facebook or whatever, if you type in a link, do you honestly type in https://? I mean, probably most people don't. I know some people who insist that they do, but, but so what happens when you do that? When you do that, it says, I would like the website, please, but I want it insecure, because that's what you asked the browser to do. And nominally, if a website has encryption set up, it would say, no, 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 you mean to say HTTPS. Let's continue securely. And then all the man in the middle has to do, Heisenberg here, he strips that out. And then he says, oh, here's your HTTP, just like you asked. HTTP is a protocol for conveying information, web information. Okay, HTTPS is the secure version. The green padlock is the icon that indicates that you're communicating over HTTPS. Okay, so here you go. This is SSL stripping. So this, by the way, is not a vulnerability. Okay, I mean, the vulnerability is in the user, not in the technology. There actually technically are ways to prevent this. There's something called HSTS preloading. New South Wales does not use that. It would have prevented this attack. But many websites, in fact, most websites don't use that particular attack mitigation, and they should, really. But the point is that anybody that can do a man-in-the-middle attack can strip out that lock. And if you don't notice, then you're sunk. They can steal whatever data you send to the server. They can modify whatever website to look like something, and they can make you convince you that you should give them your credentials when you shouldn't. Okay? So here's one solution. Just ask the voters to always type HTTPS. Okay? That would have prevented this attack. But there's a problem with that. If you go to New South Wales, the root domain, newsouthwales.gov.au, and you type HTTPS, you get this. Okay? This is not Photoshop. This is what you get. For those of you that are surfing the internet right now, you might want to give it, experiment, try visiting. What you're getting here is a certificate error. The common name, and I'm using technical terms here, the common name is mismatched. So you're getting a digital certificate that does not match newsouthwales.gov.au. It's, in this case, the cloud hosting provider. Okay? Now, all right, you don't have to understand what all that means, but you do have to understand that this is a misconfiguration. This is a whoopsie. And it's not a huge whoopsie, but again, this green padlock is like the basic baseline of technology to make it secure. If you don't have this set up right, you have no chance. Okay, but as it turns out, these misconfigurations are more common than you might think. For example, here's Elections Ontario's website. Okay? So if you go to elections.on.ca and you don't type elections.on.ca, you type HTTPS, you're saying, hey, whoa, I want the secure thing. Give it to me. And it gives you, oopsie, because the cloud hosting provider that Elections Ontario, their website is hosted on, gives you their certificate instead of Elections Ontario's. So here's another one. Okay, so here's just a little, I went and did a little survey. This is all of the election agencies in Canada at the federal, territorial, and provincial level. And so only Elections Nova Scotia actually supports TLS. But I actually can't tell you how good of a job they do because there's something wonky about their configuration. So normally you can give it a grade like an A or C or an F or whatever. I'm not able to do that. In the case of PEI in Ontario, you get certificate errors, and in all of the other agencies, they don't even support TLS. Okay, so this is important to realize that the most fundamental technology that you would need to even begin to even like start to have a conversation about actually doing internet voting is not supported in the vast majority of agencies. Now, that's not like a huge deal. You can always turn it on, But you have to get it right, and the culture has to be in place to say that this is important. So, you want to do online voting. I'm going to leave you with just this last slide. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very